Are we gonna
WebEx.
sell these down to talk, or
Pardon me?
how strict are we gonna be with the masks?
Yeah,
I mean, our policy is keep them on all the time, right?
yeah.
Okay, well, then we better keep them on. I have a fog problem with my glasses.
I know, me too. I gotta have them just a certain way. Okay, it is 1:02. I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Do we have a citizen comment?
Do you want me to speak now, or do you want me to?
You know, hang on, I guess I better do a roll call,
That's please.
of the members that are here. I know that we have 2 on WebEx. So Mr. Dose?
Aye.
Ms. Brunel?
Aye.
Ms. McNally?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Mr. Bowe? And Ms. Owens? Okay, I believe that Mr. Bowe and Ms. Owens are not in attendance. Okay, you can go if you want now, Joyce.
Yeah, I'm not asking for any action, I'm just distributing information. So I've handed out a document. The first part of it is our certification for the CURE program. And the back page is a generic ordinance that says that we are instituting and using the CURE program. This is not a requirement by any means. This ordinance was a model that was given out by NACO, I believe it was. And so I just wanted to put this in front of you. If we want to do this, we can pass it next month. But it's something, if you want to put on the books, we can put it on the books. So that is all.
Any questions for Joyce on that?
So we're gonna have to have one for, we have to one for CARES too?
No. CARE money has been distributed. This is strictly the CURE program. This talks about the plan that we talked about in finance and requirements of what we can spend it on and.
So it has to come through here at some point?
The ordinance, I would think would have, I don't know, would it come through here? I don't know.
Well, why don't you check with Mark on that and make sure that we're doing it properly. And
Okay.
just let us
He's
know.
gotten copies of all of this, so. But I'll make sure.
Okay, thank you, Joyce.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone should have had a chance to review the minutes as presented. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Mr. Dose, seconded by Mr. Freeman. Any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we're gonna jump around on the agenda because I'm gonna come back to legs and rules because, one of the things I wanna do today is spend some time on reviewing our book. So I'm gonna leave that, for the last thing we do today. So we're gonna do committee on appointments first. Okay, under new business, motion to approve the amended Lacell County Board 2019-2020 tentative schedule. Yes. Amanda.
Before you go there, actually I have two different schedules here because I want to know the last meeting of the fiscal year, which would have been, well, I had it scheduled on the 30th. And this is on the agenda too to talk about. I want to move it to November 23rd because that would mean November 30th we'd have a full board meeting, December 1st we'd have a full board meeting. It's the Monday after Thanksgiving, and I wanted to move it to the 23rd so that it would just give some time in between. Now, I know the question is there going to be enough time between November 5th meeting and November 23rd meeting for the budget to be approved? According to the information I received from Mark Anderson, it has to have 15 days. Hang on. Available to public. There has to be like about 15 days in between those two meetings in order for it to be okay. So if you're okay with Brian Dose, if you're okay with you guys are presenting the budget on November 5th and approving it on the 23rd at the full board meeting, that gives you over 2 weeks time for everybody to review it. Then I can have that full board meeting on the 23rd.
Yeah, that's fine.
So we have a meeting on the 5th,
You have a meeting on November 5th.
that's already set.
Yes.
And so we're gonna move the one from the 30th to the 23rd.
I want to move the one from the 30th to the 23rd
And then why are we having December 1st meeting?
because that's where everybody gets
Oh,
signed
that's
in,
when we're all
sworn
sworn
in.
That's when we are presenting the levy. Okay, do this every year and I forget every year. So the levy has to be approved prior to December 31st,
December 1st.
December 1st, the levy too.
Yeah, we need to talk to Mark because I think it has to be placed on file in the clerk's office, doesn't it, Tom, by a certain day? I don't know so much at a full board meeting, so I agree with you, I don't remember the parameters.
You're right.
We need to check on that to make sure that window is okay as
So
well.
the levy has to be placed on file with the county clerk's office from the 5th for a certain amount of days.
Yeah, it could be before that, you know,
Yeah,
Tom.
yeah, I don't know right off the top of my head, but there is something about the fact that I believe board action has to indicate that it be placed on file in the county clerk's office. So that may be an implied problem that might affect us.
Yeah, we'll have to check
Yeah, Mark, check
with
it out.
Mark on that to make sure that we're doing that correctly. But I seem to remember something having to be filed down there first. But if all those dates work, are you okay with the moving the second?
Yeah, we're okay. I think we're gonna have the whole expense portion of the budget done in September. October's revenue, November is, oh my God, overspending. Cutting back, but no, we should be, it's, things are falling in line, so.
All right, we'll just hold on to that till the next meeting then.
You can wait till then
Yeah.
So we need to check with Mark and make sure that, the levy one's the one I'm worried about. Tom, did you have a comment?
Yeah, the other thing about the change in November 30th to the 23rd, again, you have to be careful because there are certain meeting dates that are stipulated by statute in relationship to the board as a whole. See, some of these a lot of our meetings are what are called recess meetings. They're based on a recess from the main meeting. And so what that is for November, I can't tell you off the top of my head, but as long as you're asking Mark questions, I would suggest
To
double check on that too.
Yeah, sometimes we don't adjourn, we recess is what Tom's
We
saying.
went back to prior years, Brenda and I, to see how many days were in between other meetings. So when the prior person in my position did it, there was times there was 15 days in between time. It's
Yeah.
so hard with 3 holidays in November and then trying to squish other meetings in and then having 2 full board meetings in a row, which I'm fine with. That's what we have to do. It's we have to do. I'll do it. It doesn't bother me one bit. I was just trying to see what our options were and to see if we can just move it. But I can ask about the levy and see.
Okay, well, we'll bring that back next month then if you want to leave that on there. Any other questions or comments on that before we move on? Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution to approve medical director agreement with Dr. Brunel for the nursing home.
Okay, so that's right here. It was approved by the nursing home. The resolution is attached to it. It was a $750 increase from last year. This is be presented to the full board in October. So So I need everybody to sign this.
So do we have a motion for the resolution to approve medical director agreement with Dr. Brunel for the nursing home?
So,
Motion by Mr. Dose, seconded by Mr. Freeman.
And then you need to do a roll call because,
I will,
abstain.
right.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Dose?
aye.
I'm sorry, I should ask, was there any questions or comments on that before we take the vote? Mr. Dose?
Aye.
Ms. Brunel? Ms. Brunel?
Still there.
Ms. McNally? Okay, Ms. Brunel, I'm assuming you're abstaining?
Can you hear me? I abstain.
Yes, thank you. Ms. McNally
Aye.
and Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
and I would be an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay, we have nothing under old business. We have quite a group of reappointments. First one, I will be looking for a motion on the resolution for the reappointment of Lacey County Environmental Service Director. Motion by Mr. Freeman, second by Mr. Dose. Okay, we'll catch you next time. Thank you. Okay. Any questions or comments on the reappointment of the Lacey County Environmental Service Director?
Do we have a schedule of what we're paying?
Yeah, I don't have.
Is it in there?
Yep. Second, should be like the second page.
Would you do me a favor and state what that is, Randy? I guess I should have stated that.
December 1, 2020 to November 30th, 2021. That's nursing home.
Huh? Oh, did you give him the nursing home one?
That was Dr. Burdell, right?
Yeah, that was the first one we just did.
That's all I got.
Brian Dose, do you have the environmental services? one?
Yeah, all this is the medical.
You'll say at the bottom.
Park. Maintenance.
You're gonna need to bring them up as we do them.
I'll wait to bring these all to order, is that okay?
Yeah, because that one doesn't. That's only one page, it doesn't have anything else.
Oh, because I didn't have it. I'll get you $1.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
You should, right? Yes.
Brian, what's our total employee count for environmental services?
So we have myself, 2 inspectors, and then an office coordinator, and then we have a contract building inspector.
And a contract inspector?
Just a contract building inspector.
Oh, okay.
So a total of 4, so
That
we're
seems,
actually down 1.
I was gonna say, that seems like a low count from what we've been at in the past.
Well, we kind of combined the.
This is how much he's getting for the first year.
Field inspector positions with the.
Because we didn't negotiate the second and third year. They just negotiated the first year.
And what's the difference from what he's making now?
think it was 2.5. Did you get 2.5%?
No, it was a set, it was $1,700.
Okay.
I think it was,
He only got an increase for the first year, and then the second, third year, we're gonna be negotiating.
Second and third year, yes, will be negotiated at that time, but $1,700 brings the annual wage to $89,700. Does that sound correct, Brian?
yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions on this? And we will be forwarding this to the full board. Okay. We'll do a roll call again. Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Dose,
Aye.
Ms. Burnell,
I,
Ms. McNally.
I,
Chair would be an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay. Next on the agenda is a resolution for the reappointment of the Lacey County Maintenance Director.
I believe you got a 3% increase.
No, he got nothing.
Maintenance
That'll be
director?
no- Oh, maintenance. I'm thinking of park.
Yeah, park.
Okay, looking for a motion on the resolution for the reappointment of Lacey County Maintenance Director. Motion by
Bernal,
Or no?
Motion by Brunel, second by
second,
by McNally, Miss McNally. Okay. Where's his paperwork?
Who, the maintenance director?
Yes.
Right here.
Okay, this is a 3-year appointment. Looks as though his wage has only been set for the first year from December 1st, 2020 to November 30th, 2021, in an amount of $89,600. The next 2 years, I believe, will be determined during those years. Any questions or comments on that? Okay, this will be a roll call as well. Mr. Dose?
Aye.
Ms. Burnell? Ms. McNally?
I,
And Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
I would be an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay. Now we're to the resolution. Looking for a motion on the resolution, the reappointment of the Lacey County Park Manager. Motion by Mr. Freeman, second by
Bernal,
Ms. Burnell. Okay, is this his?
Yep.
On the park manager, I don't think his wage is changing, at least for the.
No.
Looks like they've only set that for 1 year as well. It's a 3-year term, December 1st, 2020 to November 30th, 2021. The set wage is $47,000. We have a motion, a second on the floor. Any questions or comments? Okay, this will be a roll call as well. Mr. Freeman,
Aye.
Mr. Dose,
Aye.
Ms. Burnell,
I,
Ms. McNally.
I,
I would be an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda is a resolution, the reappointment of Lacey County Animal Control Administrator. Motion by Mr. Dose.
motion,
Who seconded it?
Joanne,
Thank you, Ms. McNally. Second by Ms. McNally.
These
Okay.
are a $300 increase for the first year, and then the second year will be determined.
Will be the same.
It'll be determined.
Oh, well, they've got it on.
I scratched it off because I just got it. It just
Oh,
did it.
okay. Looks like you said 750 increase
300.
or 300 from December 1st, 2020 to November 30th, 2021. The pay will be $22,750. Any questions or comments on this? Okay, we have a motion second on the floor. Mr. Dose?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
Ms. Brunell?
Aye.
Ms. McNally?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay, next on the agenda, looking for a motion on the resolution for the reappointment of Lacell County School Services Director. Motion by Mr. Freeman,
Bernal.
second by Ms. Brunell. Okay,
I don't remember what her increase was, but her salary is listed on there. I'm so sorry.
okay,
What is this?
well, it looks like they've set the 3-year term, December 1st, 2020 to November 30th, 2021, 45,100. From December 1, 2021 to November 30th, 2022 is $46,227.50. The third year, December 1st, 2022 to November 30th, 2023, $47,383.19. Questions or comments on that? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. A roll call vote. Ms. McNally?
Aye.
Ms. Brunell?
Aye.
Mr. Dose?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman?
Aye.
I'd be an aye as well. Motion carries. Okay, we have no appointments by the board chairperson, no appointments, or reappointments, non-county levy, no resolution various. Okay, we're going to go back now to the legs and rules portion. Old business, kind of do A and B together, but first, Senate and House bill, state statute. Tom, do you have anything to report to us today on that?
Yeah, well, it's the printout that I passed out, and the big things right now is going to be the upcoming veto session. And the bills that are listed here are all bills that could still be called into that veto session. But I checked with a check mark off on the ones that are presently showing some movement, and they were moved on in June. And so that's an indicator the committee can, at their leisure, go through those and check them out, and also make any contact that they want to make to the legislators of their wishes. And then the others that I've indicated were there's House Bill 3597, which is just referred to assignments on the 24th of June. So that's a pretty good indication that bill might see some action, and that pretty much encompasses the main body of this whole report. So if anyone has any specific questions, I'll switch over to the Senate here for a minute. In Senate Bill 1379, which is another bill that has seen some action, because it is actually re-referred to rules, which means that it's out of the Senate and in the House. So there's a possibility that something could take place on that one also. But the others are, as you see, either already passed or they're leftovers from the 2019, and it's rather doubtful that, anything will be resurrected on those. But the reason they're still all on the printout is the fact that this is the full legislative session, which won't end until January. So I'd be happy to entertain any questions everybody might have. Call the
Okay,
bills up.
thank you, Tom. Anybody can we pull it up in here if we needed to? Does anyone want to look at anything on the web, or any questions?
I'd like to review it, so probably not today. I know that sounds terrible, but.
Well, we can also review them at our own leisure
Yeah,
too.
sure.
Might be a good idea.
Yeah, but we do have access, I think, don't we, Amanda, at Illinois.gov? You can just.
Yeah, I do have access to internet here.
You have access.
Next time I can pull up the computer next time and have it up.
Anything specific.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tom, for that.
You're welcome.
We have nothing on our seminar training. Okay, so the final thing, and probably the most lengthy, and we can put a time limit on it. I have brought up in prior meetings that I have felt like we need to review the Lacey County Board rules. Does everyone have a book with them today? Can we get, I have an extra one here, I think, that's not marked up.
Jim,
I have to come across mine and I didn't.
I mean, maybe this has been, already said, but is the county closed on election day? Is it?
This year, I believe, no, because my understanding is that the courts, at least here, are not gonna close that day. So as far as I know, everything is kind of status quo for this year.
So departments will be open.
Yes, because
Employees in
Pretty-
our office are asking. So.
I'm pretty sure that the courts are open and, there's nothing that's been negotiated that I'm aware of in any of the union contracts to deal with it. So I'm pretty sure we're open. Tom?
Yeah, isn't the county clerk's office by resolution, I believe, closed to public use, but they will, it's always been the understanding if somebody came in and needed something, that they would proceed with the normal conditions. They're closed on
The
election.
reason I was asking was because of the legislation that was passed with the vote by mail. Pritzker did sign and said that November 3rd, 2020 will be a state out.
We just did.
Schools, state universities, civil service, state government offices will be closed. So that's why I'm asking.
And I'm gonna look into that a little bit more, but the way I understand it right now, we're open. Does anyone need a book, or does there? First few pages, but eventually what I'll do is I think I'm actually gonna start reading it. And then if something pops up in someone's mind that they wanna talk about something, and so, okay. Basically, the beginning of the book is just a table of content. Right now, does anybody see a reason to change anything on that page? December 2nd Monday, January 2nd Thursday, February 2nd Thursday. Asterisk by meeting sessions may be moved, rescheduled to accommodate larger crowds or otherwise when it is in the best interest of the board and or public. And that concludes page 1. Now, on page 2, we start getting into, and this may be something that we should probably give some thought to, and if we have to come back in a different meeting and address some of this after we've digested this at home, there are certain things, as I've read through this book, that we are supposed to be doing during each session, and I don't know, is either we start following it or we remove it from the book. One of the two. So, here in the December session, A, regular business, semi-annual reports of county officials. 2, select and contract a radio engineer on the even number of years. Not sure what that is. Let me read through it and then we'll back up. B, annual reports of county officers and semi-annual report of the county treasurer. C, the Lacey County Nursing Home administrators shall be appointed at the December session, 1971, of the county board for a period of 2 years thereafter with the consent of the county board. Reports of the administrator of the Lacey County Nursing Home and the superintendent of the Lacey County Detention Home and the director of court services. E, unfinished business from the September session. And F, such other business as may come before the meeting. What's the committee have to say on the December session?
First, what's that annual report of the radio engineer?
I don't know.
Tom knows.
Tom, you know, I'm sorry.
No problem. Well, at one time, there was a separate committee, a radio committee, and that committee oversaw all of the sheriff's radios, the highway department radios, and any other county agency that might have had radios. So that's where that originated from. And the engineer was someone that was contracted for by the county board to repair and replace those radios as that's the basics of it, in my recollection. So, it's changed since that committee was combined to the sheriff's committee, to the best of my knowledge. At what year, I can't quote you off the top of my head, but it was a change when the committee changed to the point.
Well, I don't remember that being done all the years I've been here. Is this something that should be removed? Shaking his head, yes, everybody.
Do we have any place in here where we, look at 911?
I don't know yet.
Yes, we need to address that. The appointment of E911,
There's nothing in here anywhere, is there?
now in this other session, maybe when we get.
Well, that might be a place where,
No.
since we don't have a radio engineer anymore, that might be a place where we, interject the E911. Because that would be something that could take the place of, and I think we should probably do, and we appoint those, right? The county board appoints those, or do they have their own board that appoints them?
They have their own board completely.
So they've got their own board. Do we have anything to do with E911?
I don't think we do, Tom.
Again, to the best of my
They're independent of us?
I thought those people came up for appointment, didn't they? Or at least, they,
I mean, they're using our building, correct?
Yeah.
They're in our building?
We did the appointments, and then they have to take so many people by the law off the certain PSAPs. But we have to appoint people,
right,
and but there's no.
And don't they have to come from areas throughout the county?
Yes, but there's no statute that says that, in what manner that's to be done. So maybe that's something we need to check with Illinois Associated County Board members, or what's the other organization again?
got the
And ask them what what are other counties doing?
Are the taxes levied through the county? Are they coming now off?
I think it's on
No,
the
those-
phone bill.
It's on the phone, yeah.
So it's strictly phone bill generated? There's
Well-
nothing in our levy for E911,
I believe not,
right?
No,
Okay.
they're separate to the point where, I don't even think that gives, we don't know how much money's in their account, other than.
Well, I know there's some discussion wanting to know why we don't get an accounting of the money they got. And who's responsible for that and, how you find out, we could FOIA that.
Well, yeah, but, I mean, I think that the deputy treasurer downstairs, she's actually the secretary of that. I mean, we can ask her, she's more than willing to help. It's not like that money is being, it's being spent, but just the point that
So
they.
who is actually the overseer of that, the funding and all that then? That's their own board that's set, and
We have that board, and I don't think we've ever,
I guess I'd like to have more information on the whole thing.
Funding is set by statute through the utility, through the.
Right.
Well, can we agree that we can strike out the contract
Yes.
radio engineer?
Yeah.
And then we'll look into the 911 stuff as far as what we need to do there. I've talked to Mark about that. Annual reports of county officers and semi-annual report.
And that's something that's a hit and miss really, because I don't think we've ever had every county official or county office holder give a report.
Not all, no, we have like
I can't remember the
probation,
last time the sheriff gave a report.
D-home, and then,
Would they be considered a county office holder?
but can we force them to give a report?
No, we can ask them.
Well, you can ask them, but if it's a board rule, then that's what they have to do. That's what they have to do. And then again, you're going against elected officials' ability to.
Tom, would you have
I just
something?
wanted to back up for a moment on the radio engineer, because I think the sheriff does contract with a firm that takes care of radios and so forth, so. But I think also the county highway guard contracts with theirs, so, that, I just wanted to throw that up.
That's probably something which should be under their, moved
Like,
into their,
Yeah, under their department.
under their departments, rather than have that there. Still, I think it could be eliminated.
I think B could stay in there. I guess the question of who's gonna give them or not, we can just see as we go. Some do, maybe the ones that are the ones that are supposed to. I don't think the county treasurer's ever done it in front of, unless Don used to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I think you did.
I can remember treasurers coming
Yeah.
out and giving a report.
All right, well, that probably should stay there. The appointment of the nursing home administrator.
hey, Joel has got a question.
Joe?
Yeah, it's just a general, question, whether what we're talking about changing or removing, does that have to go to the full board, and should it go to the state attorney's office?
Yeah, once we're done kind of with a review and an idea of what we want to do, yes, it would have to be reviewed and the full board would have the final say.
Yeah, we're following through here.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
The nursing home administrator, I think that's fallen in line with how we're doing the appointments of the directors, which probably there should be something in here that addresses that LaSalle County directors shall be appointed in this. And they would fall under that, so instead of nursing home administrator, that would be directors. Shall be appointed at the December session at 1971.
So you don't want reappointments to be done until December?
According to the rule.
when typically I'm not trying to question you, it's typically they start December 1st
Oh, you're
of
right.
the year.
So they would back that up into the last session,
Correct.
That'd
So
be
it
the
would be the
September.
September session.
September session, yeah. So do we want to strike the whole C part in there? And then we'll address that in the September session, that all directors are appointed at that time. Okay, so we'll strike that C,
Your March session.
and then we'll talk about that when we get to the,
Are you still in December?
Still in December.
we'll strike the C under December. Okay, again, reports of the administrator of the Lacey County Nursing Home and the superintendent of the Lacey County Detention Home and Director Court of Services. You want to leave that in there?
They typically do. They give the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even the nursing home? I don't.
Not the nursing
I
home,
don't
no,
remember,
but
but I'm sure we could talk to them about that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then E, unfinished business from the September session, that's pretty much straightforward. And F, again, such other businesses may come before the meeting. And again, as we go through this, if you guys should happen to review this on your own, we're gonna be working on this for a while. This isn't something that's gonna get resolved in a meeting or two. We're just starting on it, so we can always bring it back and rediscussion. Then, okay, moving on to the March session, regular business. Reports, again, of the administrator of Lacey County Nursing Home, superintendent of the Lacey County Detention Home, director of court services. Again, that's a quarterly report that they've been doing anyway. So I'd say B can stay on there. C, appointment of the chief county assessment officer after every 4 years thereafter. That I'd have to ask Mark about. I don't know if that can go on the September session when we're doing directors, or Tom, do you know if by statute there's a
lot of this has been determined that way. It's set up in prior reviews, by the state's attorney's office with the statutory requirements. But
well, we can
they
leave
can be
that.
reviewed because they change all the time. You never know.
We probably ought to leave that alone unless legal tells us something different. I know that we did just appoint the assessors, so maybe we were following that. Selection of substitute members of committees and chairperson of said committees be referred to the committee on appointments. Why would we be dealing with that in the March session? Isn't that something that should be in the December session?
Yeah, I would think so.
Again, it could have been some order of statute. And one point that I wanted to mention in that one is the fact that the reference is made to substitute members of committees. Now, as long as I've been around here, that hasn't been done. We haven't substituted members, but I do know that the legislature operates on that basis. So if there's a committee member that is going to be off because of sickness or because they're not going to be available, then the chairman of the board, or however it would have the option to appoint someone on an interim basis to attend that meeting. And so there would be
Probably the reason so you have a full committee,
right.
where now I think we just operate under, as long as we have a quorum, we move forward.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that is a good idea, and there could be a good reason for it to stay.
Yeah.
What's a committee think?
Because,
Yes, Mr. Dawes.
I'm gonna move to WebEx for about half an hour. I'll be back.
Okay,
I'll be listening.
no problem. You know, in the December session, we probably, I don't see no reference about, you know what, I don't see anything in there about when new members come in, the selection of committees.
Yeah, 'cause that's when we start appointing after the election, then you start circulating the
But-
requests for committee.
November is still considered the September session.
So December session is December, January, February, right?
September, October, November. That's September.
December session.
December is December, January, February. So after the election, we all have to get together and figure out who's going where in
Right.
the November meeting. Or actually, we have to have another meeting in November to figure out who is gonna be on what committee. And I don't think there's a lot that we have to figure out either.
Well, I get what you're saying. So after the
17th.
November election day, knowing who's gonna be here on December 1st, some of those decisions could be made in the September session.
Yeah.
Taking
Well,
effect.
We
in
would get together
December.
in November, another November meeting for a committee on appointments. Get together, figure out who's gonna be on what committee, which there's only a few. So I'm thinking we could just swap them out maybe depending on what you guys plan on doing. And then it would be approved at the, we can approve it at the November meeting or the last November meeting.
All right, but we can deal with that, and that should
Yeah.
then be in the September session.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Fixing salaries of county officials to be elected in November. Okay, that's correct. We've done that. Unfinished business of December session, such other business. Okay. So that all looks okay. June session, regular business, semi-annual reports of county officials. I think that can stay. Action on semi-annual reports of county officials, including necessary of the Lacey County Nursing Home, Superintendent of Lacey County Detention Home, Director of Court Services, and County Treasurer. I think all that's been done except for the county treasurer, so I think that can stay. And just to the committee, anytime you want to pop in, just let me know. And such other businesses may come before the meeting. It looks like the June session, that's pretty straightforward. Okay, September session, regular business, annual appropriation and tax levy. That's correct. Appointment of medical director. I think we're actually doing that right now. That appears to be correct. Selection of judges. Election were periods of 2 years, 1973 and every 2 years thereafter. I have to check with Lori on that. I'm not sure.
They did that already.
Yeah,
They did.
Yeah.
that stays, yeah.
EMA annual report, she's probably doing that.
Yep. Thursday.
Enforcement officer appointment. 1972 and every 2 years after. Enforcement officer of what?
That's Brian, isn't it?
Yeah. Right, yeah.
I think that's what they called it.
Oh, environmental services.
Environmental services.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Approval of road and bridge levies, reports of the administrator, okay, back to them reports. Fixing salaries of members and clerk of board of review, and filing bonds of the county treasurer and county collector. That's probably correct. And then unfinished business from the June session and such other business may come before me. Now, what I don't see in here, this should be the time when we are selecting committee members on election years. Would that be correct? So we
What
should,
is the September session again? It's,
September is October, September, October, and November.
so we would do this in November
after the
with-
election.
after the election prior to December 1st. So technically December 1st, everyone would be set in their committees moving forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 'cause you're gonna know who it is.
I'll add select committee members.
And if there's any carryover, what they've done in the past, it just let whoever replaced one person be the person who would pick up those committees until committee assignments were determined, you know. So there was a,
I mean, if everything went right though, theoretically, it
Oh, yeah.
could be done.
sure,
Depending
do it ahead of time.
on the changing of people,
Right.
it could wait, I guess, till December, but technically, I think it could be done in the end of that session.
That works out.
Okay, anything else that anyone can think of that should be added in the September session? Okay, moving on page 3 under number 6, changes or suspensions. No standing rule of the board shall be rescinded or changed without 1 day's notice of the motion thereof, and by 2/3 vote of the members present, except as to the hour of meeting during the session. I'm not sure I understand exactly what situation that without 1 day's notice.
I think that means if you're gonna call a special meeting, I think that you have a minimum of a day. Okay,
Special
rescind.
meetings have to be 48 hours. It has,
Yeah.
because they all have to be, I mean,
That's something I think we should have that interpreted by the attorney.
It's dictated by statute.
Yeah, I agree, because I don't totally understand
I
what
don't know.
scenario that would fall
Yeah,
under.
you're right, you can't call a meeting, you got to take a 48-hour notice.
Right.
I'll see if they can't review that. Okay, order
oh,
silence.
Brian Dose is saying something.
Yes, Mr. Dose?
Chairman, is there anything in there about when it's on arrival? So if we had incorporated the board rules, we wouldn't have future issues.
Hang on, we're gonna turn the volume up so we can hear you a little better, Brian.
all right, Brian, say that again.
Is there anything in the board rules that we could put in about when questions have to go on a ballot for an election?
No, I think that's actually covered under the state rules.
Okay.
Okay,
Could we put it in there as a reminder?
we could.
Or what?
You gotta put it under all sessions then. Make sure it's covered.
Put it under what?
Well, you know, if you're stipulating what's in the statute, you can just make a reference. under each session.
Yeah, Tom, I think that would be a good idea, to make the reference to the statute.
Yeah.
So under each December, March, June, and September,
Well,
put a reference to. It should be on every page of the book, to be honest with you.
Or under change or suspensions, I guess it'd be, well, I don't know if it'd fall under there either. Well, we'll come back to that, but I think that's something that the state's already covered. Okay, 7, order silence. When a member is speaking, no other person shall entertain any private discourse or pass between the speaker and the chair. I don't see a problem with that. Anyone want to change that? 8, Robert Rules of Orders. The rules of parliamentary procedure as stated in Robert's Rule of Order shall govern the board in all cases in which they are applicable and not inconsistent with the standing rules of the board. And I think that's been our long time standing that we follow that. As long as Doug Traeger's on the board, he'll keep us in line with that. Okay. Yeas and nays. The yeas and nays shall be taken upon any question upon the call of any 2 members and upon all reports, resolutions, and motions carrying disbursement of money, and in all cases that may or may not be taken at the discretion of the chairperson. That's pretty straightforward, I would say. Number 10, action on all reports, motions, and resolutions. Action on all reports, motions, and resolutions shall be postponed by majority vote until the next scheduled meeting upon the motion and second of 2 members, except be it a matter referred to a committee prior to the last day of a session and the committee reports on the last day of the session. Everyone okay with that?
What's that saying, that you can't postpone a vote if it's gonna be the last, to a committee, if it's gonna be the last day of the session? Is that?
I believe so, because they, sounds like they want that done quarterly and they don't want you putting it off into the next quarter.
Next session.
The next session is the way I read that.
I'm sure we've not done that a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, number 11, reconsideration. When a motion has been made and carried, it shall be in order for any member having voted with the prevailing side to move for recommendation thereof on the same or succeeding day of each session.
We've used that before, in quite a while,
Yeah, I can remember doing it once.
little ways ago. The double liner.
So basically, if you were on the prevailing side of that, whether it was a yay or a nay, you could bring it up for reconsideration on that day or the next
Yeah, the succeeding.
day of the session. Okay.
So that means the next full board meeting.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you can do it.
Number 12, reduce to writing. All resolutions and reports of committees shall be in writing, dated, and signed by the majority of the committee members. And I believe that's being typically done. We put the report on in the minutes, and although I don't know if they are signed, are they?
Oh, yeah, most of them are.
Are they?
Yeah, probation, D homes typically signed by committee members. And county clerk's report is signed by committee members.
Okay. Petitions to be read, number 13. Petitions shall be read before the entire board before being referred to the proper committee. I'm assuming that's been done.
What's that mean?
That'd be rare because it'd be something referred out of the board to a committee, which typically is the other way around.
Right, yeah, I don't know where that came from.
You know, probably stuff like this was some oddball
Yeah.
occasion and it just got put in there. I mean, I guess it could stay. I suppose something could be referred back to a committee.
Can we put a question mark by that? and
Yeah, we
Get an answer from legal?
I'm assuming it refers to something being sent back. Maybe we don't do that a lot. I suppose on the state level, Tom, they probably do that quite a bit, don't they?
Yeah, not that often that I'm familiar with, they usually, they usually resolve the situation with the committee. The only thing they do in relationship to moving it to the other house, you've got two houses, if you make an amendment on something, then, they send it back to the other house, which would be like sending it back to the committee here. So if you amended something on the floor, I suppose somebody could demand that it go back to the committee to get the committee's approval. But since the committee's already here.
Right. Okay. Number 14, this is on page 5 under meetings. All respective members shall be notified of committee meetings at least 48 hours prior to the date of the meeting. All notices of emergency meetings shall be given by telephone from the county board office. And I believe that we're following that currently.
Mm-hmm.
Under B, special meetings of the board may be held when requested by 1/3 of the members of the board, addressed to the clerk of the board, naming the time and place of the meeting. We followed that as well. The clerk shall also have notice published in some newspaper printed in the county where a county board chairperson is elected. He or she may call special meetings of the board. I believe we follow that.
Can I ask a question?
Sure. Go ahead.
Going back one on the question of the 1/3 of the board signatures, is that for an emergency meeting?
Special meetings.
Yes, that's kind of what Russell Bowe did when he brought up the auditor question. He requested through the board members to have he did that to have, and I think it's in there later, he did that to get an item on the agenda, but this would be the same thing, that if 1/3 of the board members request it, then it looks like a special meeting could be called.
Okay, so that's a special meeting then, not an emergency meeting. Do you have the
no.
ability to call an emergency meeting on your own?
Well, it says where a county board chairperson is elected, he or she may call a special meeting of the board, so I would say yes on that.
Okay, but it's called a special meeting, not
Call
an
it,
emergency.
yes, that's what it says in here.
Emergency comes later.
Okay,
Which might fit the same definition.
Right.
So this number 14 has actually been amended back in June. It's just, you guys don't have a copy of it, but I do. So letter C will actually say, all meetings shall be governed by the Illinois Opens Meeting Act regulations. Members may attend electronically while emergency exceptions of the Illinois Open Meetings Act are in effect due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That would stay in there until this pandemic is done and we're not using WebEx anymore.
So, yeah, that is that's an addition to our rules right now.
Correct.
It
Yeah.
doesn't state it in here, but it's
No,
something
but
that's
it
in
is,
effect.
it was something that was passed
Right.
on, June 8th
Right.
of this year.
That's probably something that we could put in here, and maybe not have it specific to COVID. But we probably should have something in here like we did for, the masks and the safety. We asked for a special revision to the safety book to put in there something governing an emergency of pandemic, that these rules would be in effect, right? Were you, no, Tom, you weren't there. You were there, right? At that meeting when we asked to have the new safety person look into that and get something drafted and put into our safety.
And it does say that this is an emergency exception, due to the Opens Meetings Act, due to the
So-
COVID-19 pandemic.
Of course, if anything comes up, that would be something that would be instilled by the state, so we probably wouldn't have to have it in the rule book. But I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have something.
Yeah, 'cause we added that, and then we also added that, it says, say all cell phones are to be silent mode and on vibrate during the county meetings. And then one more, there is a letter E, and that all meetings which are required to be open to the public shall be broadcast to the public by electronic means chosen by the county board. So that means every
That's
meeting
something
is
we've
on
already talked
YouTube.
about though to have added, right?
Huh?
We've already discussed that. to have
Correct,
added.
yep, it was
Already in
approved on June.
Right, so that'll be in the, when we reprint.
Yes, it'll be in there. Sorry.
Jill, I want to back up about the special meeting so that I probably didn't explain that very well. So if something comes up and there is a need for a special meeting, what occurs would be the board office, whether it's Amanda or me, start calling board members, explaining to them the reason for the need of a special board meeting. Once we've met the third of board members that say, yes, call a meeting, then we call the special meeting. That's typically how it's done. However, it looks like in the second paragraph, the chairperson, if elected, I'm assuming they mean elected, not appointed, may call a special meeting of the board. So I guess there's two ways that could occur. Typically, the way that I've seen it done is that we call board members until we get that third of board members saying, yes, call the special meeting. Does that answer your question a little better?
Yeah, and then the other thought that I just had was, are those, just a voice, yes, I agree, and then they sign some kind of a paper? Or does it have to be a signature before you call a special meeting?
Well, physically, the signature comes later just because, we'd have to literally have people come in here maybe that don't have a reason to come in. Typically, we get a verbal okay, and then prior to the meeting, we get a signature from everybody.
Okay.
Okay, so do we need to be more specific with that language then?
I don't think so, but we could have Mark take a look at it. I guess it could be a little confusing.
It sounds confusing to me, but I don't have it in front of me to verify. So
Well-
it could just be me not having it directly in front of me.
Let me put a question mark by it, and then if you want to review it later, like I say, we can always bring this stuff up in another meeting, go back over it.
Okay.
C, all meetings shall be governed by the Illinois Open Meetings Act, which looks, I think
It was
that's
already,
duplicated. D, all cell phones are to be on silent mode or vibrate during any county meetings.
and that's when we added a letter E to that for the electronic.
Okay. All right, number 15, documents. Whenever any motion or resolution is passed by the LaSalle County Board that requires signatures on a contract, deed, or conveyance, or on any other type of document, the chairperson of the board and the county clerk are authorized to sign the same on behalf of the LaSalle County Board. I think that's pretty straightforward. Any questions on that? Okay, moving to page 6. Under number 16, speaking at full board meetings for members of the board and public. I, or 1, under board members. A, speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the Zoning Board of Appeals or the county board. Personnel matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. Personal attacks or inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. I think that's pretty straightforward. Under B, no member shall speak without resignation of the chairperson. And I believe that's under Robert Rules of Orders as well. C, county board members may not engage in discussion with, address, or ask questions of the public during the time allowed for public citizen comments. We probably follow that the majority of the time. I do think there are rare occasions that I personally bend the rules on that a little, but I think in general, that's probably a good thing. Mr. Freeman?
I would like to see even a little bit more lenient in this area. I think there's times when we get into discussion that there might be somebody in the public attending that could clarify a position. And I think it would be a good thing with the board member addressing the chairman to ask permission to allow a person to give expert opinion or something on an issue. I just think it would help clarify things sometimes.
I don't disagree with you. I think I was at a meeting one time when someone, I think, tried to pass on their time or their authority to a member of the public. I don't know how legal that was, or if we have to look at. I know as far as me running the meetings, I agree with you, and I think I'm probably more willing to give people a chance to talk on certain occasions. And
Right. I don't think on every single thing we could probably do it, but I think there are certain times that there's somebody in attendance that might be able to make a clarification of something, or that's got a firsthand knowledge of the issue. So.
And just like the mask situation, I did let a member of the public speak because I knew they were involved in the whole reason I got here. And so I guess you should probably consider whether that's going to remain a discretion of the chair, or somehow a board member can do that.
If we could word it such that a board member may ask, and that's up to you. You can okay or deny the permission, but I think at least put something in there that would allow a board member to bring it. And if you feel it's a
Randy,
good idea,
Jill?
allow it.
Can we hang on? Mr. Dose had his hand up first, so I'll get back to you, Ms. Brunel. Mr. Dose?
Jill, he did not see your hand up. Sorry.
Sorry.
Hey, so I'm okay with the fact that we can't ask the questions, but if the board chairman can, so we could direct our questions to one person, and then he could ask those questions of those people.
Right, no, something like that, yeah.
Similar to what, I would be agreeing with Randy's concept.
I agree with it, and I've allowed it at different times, because I do think there's times.
It helps us make a better decision on what we're looking at.
And our latest example was we had the lease agreement with Midwest Barge, and that went to the board floor, and I think it got altered slightly. And we were asking if those modifications would then completely change the lease agreement. And we needed their input right there on the board floor to say, yeah, we're okay with that. You know, and I thought that was productive. I think it was,
Yes.
So.
Okay, we'll get down to the wording. I'll get to just a second, Karen. Jill, you had a comment?
Yeah, I do have, Jim. I think it would be nice if we could do that, but we're also going to be opening up a big issue. If we let certain ones do that, then we're gonna have to let everybody do it.
Oh, I agree. I mean, that's my only reservation is that I think it could get
Yeah,
abused.
I'm gonna put a stop to it once you start it.
I mean, one option would be, if I'm understanding Brian correctly, is that the board member would reference the question to the chair, and then the chair, if so willing, would ask that person. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
One voice, not 29, one person.
Right, and that would make sense. Karen?
Well, it was just, brought to my thought that when we had the issue with Catlin Park and the road use, I think we had some citizens here that were commenting about, because they wanted to close that road in the winter and not use it. And they did have some citizens, and I think it did help the board make some decisions on the use of the road.
So, do we want to add something to the effect that a board member would ask a question through the chairperson to be asked of a member of the public, something like that?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna rough it in here. Of course, Mark or someone will pretty it up, but
And they could put in there, make it where limitations would apply. I can understand Jill's, thinking that it might get out of hand and get into certain circumstances. You could have 100 people back here all wanting
Exactly.
to give their advice on something, and you just, you lose control of the meeting.
Well, and they can't decide amongst themselves who's gonna be disposed of.
It's hard for 29 board members to come to a resolution, and you get 100 people back here trying to help you make a resolution, it's not gonna work.
so Jill, are you okay with that concept that a board member would ask through the chairperson, if they could, a question could be asked of a member of the public? Do you think that would be okay?
I don't know, Jim. I think long and hard about it before you start. I think it's a great idea to include any citizen that's at the meeting, but where do you, I just don't know how we can word it that would allow some to do it and some not to.
Well, I think this is where you get into the area where the chairperson is running the meeting. I can say, speaking for myself, that at some point, if I felt like it was getting out of hand, I would put a stop to it. I mean, I don't know that we can cover every single situation, and I think that becomes a responsibility of the chairperson running, whether it's a committee meeting or a full board meeting. I think the chair has to step in sometime and bring order back to the meeting. Tom Walsh?
Yeah, I think there's a legal implication with that too. I think, the state attorney's office really needs to for you, because I think that once you start that ball rolling, it's hard. And it puts the chairman in a very tough position, because then where are you gonna stop it? That's the point. If you got 50 people standing out here and there's no representative, and each one of them stand in line and you see what I'm getting at? It just, in that.
But they'd have to have a board member that would agree to bring the question up. I mean, it's not like they can come and ask, but.
No, I understand. But,
Well, it's something we can consider. I know that I'm in favor of maybe bending them rules a little bit, but Jill has a good concern that I could see it quickly getting out of hand on some occasions. So we'll keep that in there as a possibility. Okay, on the public full board. Speakers may not address zoning matters which are pending before the zoning board of appeals or the county board. Personnel matters or pending or threatened litigation may not be addressed in open session. Personal attacks and inappropriate language of any sort will not be tolerated. I think that's pretty straightforward.
And that happened at that zoning board of appeals meeting. When
Yeah.
that gentleman got up and started talking about the son being drunk, and that was he was so far out of line that night, they should have shut him down.
Yeah, I agree. It was completely
That was no place for that kind of comments.
inappropriate for sure. But I think the chair handled it fairly well. He jumped on him pretty quick. Okay, B, any individual seeking to comment, the board must give, any individual seeking to comment the board to, I don't know, some of the wording there may need to be cleaned up. Comment to the board must give the chairperson written notice 2 hours prior to the meeting and must specify to the chairperson the nature of the subject to be discussed and a contact number in case of a cancellation emergency. What's the committee think on that?
That's not word, that's any individual seeking to comment before the board.
Yeah, there's something
Must
missing
give-
there.
I think that would be better. Any individual seeking to comment before the board must give the chairperson written notice 2 hours prior to the meeting and specify the chairperson needs to resolve. I think that sounds better, don't you?
Well, I mean, I think it also says 2 hours, but I mean, if you were really looking at this, you'd be like, well, I did it 3 hours, well, it says 2 hours. What?
Well, they have up to
A
2
minimum-
hours
it
before
should
the
say
full
minimum
board.
2
It,
hours.
maybe they have to give a written notice. They have 2 hours before the full board to do it. So, how do I say it? Like, they can't come here an hour before the full board and say, hey, I want to public speak, because they can't. They have to, it has to be 2 hours or before.
Can I ask why?
Just something I've always been told.
I know, but why 2 hours, why not 20 minutes? Why not 3 days?
I don't know if that's.
I will, Brian, if you, way before you come on board, ancient times of my early years, I actually attended about 5 or 6 county board meetings throughout our surrounding. And pretty much all of them allowed you to come in, sign in the night meeting, or most of them were night meetings. But you could sign in, tell them what you want to talk about, and you got a chance. I got taught. I showed up at a meeting, I wrote down, said I just want to come and attend the meeting, see how things progress for night meetings and blah, 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 and let that. So they basically allowed everybody to come and sign in, and it didn't take long. They were through whoever wanted to have a piece, and then the meeting went on from there.
See, I think I know where you're going with it, and I'm probably in agreement with you. Now, there could be reasons that they can't do it within 2, I don't know, but if it was a valid reason to be here and speak, I probably would be inclined to let them speak. You know, I kind of bent that rule when the one group was here talking about the drainage district. There was only honestly one guy that signed up. But out of courtesy to them, I let them all speak with, the 5-minute limit. So I'm open to discussion on it because I'm not quite sure if I understand a valid reason for it. Because if they bring up something that we don't like, I don't think we can tell them no.
Oh, maybe we'll just have to find out if there's a thing out there that's the reason why it's put in there. We have to do some research.
I don't
Have,
think,
have we ever had more than 3 people, as long as you've been chairman, that try to get on speak?
no, but I think this come up, I know that some of this has come up since I've been here, since '08. I think there was some issues with some people, getting carried away, wanting to talk for,
Like when the sand thing was happening.
yeah, so
I think that had
Well,
a
that
lot
was,
to do with it.
that was a unique situation.
Yeah.
But the zoning board of appeal, they do not limit how many people can speak on an issue, do they?
I don't think so. I think
And
that's why
what's
some of
their
them,
time requirements for the address? Can they address that night? Do they have to be signed up in advance?
I don't know, that we'd have to
I
ask
don't
Brian.
think so.
But Randy, I
it's a
don't
hearing,
think we're
that's what
talking
it
about
is.
the zoning board in our rule book, are we?
No.
No, but I'm just trying to get ideas and what we can look at as far as our board. I just want to be as open as possible to people and give them opportunities, but I don't want to get towards a drug out affair either.
But I've been at many meetings where when it come to public comment, that's exactly what it was. You could, hey, I want to say something, and
Well, most town boards do it that way.
you say something, and again, I think you have to rely on person in charge of the meeting controlling it and nipping it when it gets out of hand. The time,
Some of the early theory on that was that if they wanted to speak, they should come to the committee meeting. That is an open forum, more than the full board meetings. Because it just like in the legislature, in Springfield, if you want to put an argument to a bill in Springfield, you don't go to the House session, you go to the committee meeting, and that's where it's considered a hearing type thing. And they will listen to anybody who submits a request to speak, or however, we do it now even by,
But Tom, I think people have been cultured to do it that way too. I mean, they know this is where you have to go to get it heard. And so that's something that's been established. I don't know if we've established a system of how to get the public to get their voice into it.
well, I think we've tried to,
Yeah.
it never, the action had never really arisen. Where
Right.
there was that much interest, and now,
They always show up when we're gonna take the action.
yeah, right. And the final action is at the meeting, and that's why, the meetings were always trying to be expedited to avoid the confrontation,
Right.
so to speak, but
look at our committee meetings, like today, citizen comment.
Yeah.
Someone could have been here without
Oh,
prior notice. We
sure,
let them
yes.
talk.
Yeah.
So I think really that needs reconsidered. I mean, the committee okay with us, if nothing else, finding out there's a legal reason why this is on here, but I mean, is that kind of where you were going, Brian, is that you maybe don't agree with it?
I don't know the reason why, I don't wanna block somebody that comes in an hour and a half, because they didn't know our specific board rules.
I agree.
And I think if maybe we give some bonus to the chair, to allow exceptions, if you feel that it's important enough for the public discussion, it should be allowed.
Yeah, and I've already done that on more than one occasion. I mean, so I think that we will consider that. You ladies on WebEx have any comment on that you want to make, or?
I just just think, Jim, it's a great idea to let the public speak. We just have to make sure that whatever we decide is very clear in the rule book.
Okay. Joanne, did you have any?
Change the language.
Joanne, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I just agree with Jill. I agree that everybody has a right to speak, but they need to follow the rules, and whatever we decide, that's what we need to stick with.
Okay. Well, we'll look at that, and then C, there shall be a maximum of 15 minutes per meeting allowed for citizen comment with a limit of 5 minutes per individual. And again, I think I kind of know where that all came about, but so that means you're going to give 3 people an opportunity to talk. There could be an unusual situation where that just doesn't work. So that's something we need to think about as well. Typically, I think what was asked before is that if a group of people, if there's 5 people are going to say the same thing, they try and pick one spokesperson and have that person address the board. But I don't know. It'd be an unusual situation, but I could see it happening. That's why when folks were talking on that drainage district, I was limiting them to 5 minutes. And that seemed, most people won't talk 5 minutes, some will. Any other questions or comments on that part?
So we're gonna add that in, or rewrite B?
Well, I'm concerned about limiting it to 15 minutes. I don't know what the committee thinks. I'm in favor of the 5 minutes per individual, but do we really want to limit it to 15 minutes? I don't know. I think we need to think about that.
The 5 minutes pretty much tell you that you can only have 3 people talk.
Yeah.
If they're gonna take 5 minutes, but I think, like you said, a lot of people aren't gonna talk 5 minutes. So, you probably could get more people in there in that 15-minute span. And you wanna take the 15-minute out?
Well, I think the way this was written is it was either 15 minutes with a maximum of 3 people at 5 minutes. So in most cases, that probably isn't a problem. But on a certain subject, I don't know that just having 3 people talk 5 minutes is going to be adequate to the public. So I think we need to put some thought in it. Ty, you had something to say?
I just recall what we did in the past.
Just a second, Jill, Tom Walsh got a comment.
From the best of my recollection, what we've done in the past is we've divided that up, and like you're saying, 3 people, 5 minutes apiece. Okay, so then you break it down. If there's more than 3 people, then you have less than 5 minutes apiece for a total of 15 minutes. But again, it all depends. And then how are you going to structure this? I mean, really, the agenda is open, and some people put the public at the end of the meeting, and therefore it's rather restrictive from the stance of them having any influence over what the votes are. And that isn't fair either.
Well, I can tell you, if I'm making up the agenda, that won't occur while I'm here because I don't agree with that as well.
Well, I just threw that out there.
I don't think a citizen comment should be put after a subject that they're wanting to speak about.
Exactly.
I personally would not do that. Or we could maybe even consider something that the board at that point could, by motion agree to extend the time or something. What does the committee think about something like that? And maybe that way the board would have more say in it than just the chairperson.
At the time of the meeting,
How many people how much time is gonna be allowed at that meeting for citizen comment. If we met the 15 minutes and the board felt like there should be more time, maybe that should be a board decision, not necessarily a chairperson decision. Just something to think about.
How about with like majority consent?
Jill, did you have a comment?
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking that if it was a very hot issue, we could have 15 people talking for a minute, or 1 minute apiece, just to get their opinion out there on a very hot topic. So again, I go back to the fact that whatever we decide on this, the language has to be specific. That's all I have to say.
I agree, but I think sometimes when we sign up for this job, I don't know that we should try to cut the public off after 15 minutes. So I think we have to put some thought into that, and maybe, like I say, maybe the thought would be, and maybe the board already has the authority that at a meeting, if someone asks to entertain a motion that the time limit be extended, and the majority of the board agrees to that, then maybe that's the right way to go. So.
Yeah, and Jim, maybe also we should see how other counties handle their citizen comment. Maybe we could get some ideas.
I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I just know that a lot of, well, I shouldn't say a lot, but I know some council meetings that I've been at, they're not near as restricted as this.
And their committee system isn't as formal as ours is either, so they don't, you know, they don't have that opportunity to express themselves at committees.
Okay, well, we'll keep diving. Let's do one more page today. Let's do page 7. And then I think that'll be as far as we're gonna go today. 17 is correspondence or mail to board members. Under A1, any county board member wishing to deposit material into the mailboxes of other county board members must sign and date the material and receive written approval from the county board chairperson before distribution can be performed. Again, I think that this probably came from a specific incident. What's the committee think on this?
Yeah, I think by specific incident, I just wanted to mention that I think that what happened years back was some commercial was attempted, some commercial use of this. Somebody came in and presented information, and when immediately, you know, the question where the boxes were, and they went in and put it in the boxes without any authority. And I think that's what it was to curtail, so it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I know something happened and it got a little out of control for a while.
Right.
So, do we leave that in or just?
Well, Jim, don't you think it should especially limit any political paraphernalia? I mean, have we ever had an issue with that?
No.
No.
Not that I recall.
Well, let's read through 2 and 3.
Don't leave it in there.
Let's read through 2 and 3. County departments wishing to deposit correspondence mail into the mailboxes of county board members must have the department supervisor, elected official signature and date on the material, and it must be presented to the administration office from 245 or final approval by the county board chairperson.
Go to the house.
Typically, they come in and ask me, is it okay if I put this in the board members' boxes?
And I don't know if there's been any abuse of that. I'm unaware of any.
In the past, there was.
I know, and I think that's what brought up some of these rules. 3, correspondence from the general public will not be accepted by the county board office for distribution and shall be sent directly to the published address of the county board member. I personally agree with that. I don't think we want them coming in, filling up our inner office mailboxes when something from the general public could be sent through the mail. What's the committee think on that?
Agreed.
Well, we do get some stuff from, companies and corporations and stuff like that.
Yeah, you get stuff like everybody get to get a whole stack like this that is distributed to you guys. Because I don't know, sometimes I check with Jim to see if he wants it to be put in there, and sometimes I just throw it in there. You guys basically just throw it away. Do you not want that? I mean, I don't have to put it in your guys' box. I can.
I mean, as long as it's addressed here, I don't know what else you're gonna do.
Right.
Well, if it comes through the mail, then I don't have a problem with it being put, but someone walking in, giving you a stack of something, say here,
Right.
I don't
No.
think that's appropriate.
No, if it's a public person, not a worker, then I would probably direct them to be mailed to each their places. Yes.
Tom?
I think in the past, that was one of the problems was that it did happen through the mail, where someone set a huge container and asked that all the information was in that container be given to the board members, I don't recall right offhand, but I believe that they even had the names of the board members on the material, but what they were doing was avoiding the postage of mailing it to each board member by bringing it in here or sending it in here and then having it distributed to the board members personally.
So what you're saying is they sent it in bulk and they wanted us to do the sorting, that I would disagree with.
Exactly. Yeah.
If they want to individually send it here to each board member, pay the postage, then I almost feel like it's gotta go in the
Yeah,
box.
if it's coming to the mail here in our name, that's pretty much you gotta put it in our box.
Yeah,
Because,
that's it.
But to send it in bulk and we sort it,
no,
I
or
would
somebody
disagree.
show up,
I would
say, I want
disagree
this
with that.
given to every board member. Sorry. We're not US Mail.
Yeah. Okay, well, we are done then up to page 7, and again, at your own leisure, I've read this book probably 4 or 5 times, and every time I typically find something I didn't catch the first time, so in future meetings, we will continue to keep working our way through it, and if anything that we've covered, if I can find any information out on it, I will bring that up, or if the committee members would like to bring something back up, you're certainly welcome to bring it up to be readdressed again. So we will quit here on page 7 today and work on that again if time allows in another meeting. Any other things come before the committee before we adjourn? Okay, looking for a motion to adjourn
So moved.
by Mr. Freeman. Jill, do I see your hand up for a second?
Sure,
All right,
it's a virtual hand.
yeah, Jill seconds the motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Bye.
Opposed?
Alright,
We are adjourned. Thank you, ladies. Take care.
right. Yep, bye, everybody.
Bye.
I gotta put a finance meeting on.